I'm Jeremy Wade. For 35 years, I've been tracking down freshwater monsters.
That is a big fish.
But wherever I look, these apex predators are disappearing.
This is really remote, but even here, the big fish have gone.
For a biologist, that's a wake-up call, a sign that our rivers are in trouble. To uncover what's going on, I'm heading to 6 of the planet's major waterways. I need to mix with the people who live along their banks and test the waters any way I can.
Yes.
My mission? To find out if these mighty rivers really are past the point of no return. It's the mother of all rivers. Over 4,000 miles long, the Amazon discharges more water than the next 9 biggest rivers combined. And that's just the start. In its entirety, the Amazon basin contains 1/5 of the world's fresh water, and its rainforests produce 1/4 of all the oxygen in our atmosphere. It's said that if the Amazon dies, we all die with it. Scare story or not, if there's one river that needs a thorough health check, then this is surely it. I'm hearing reports of big fish disappearing and people getting sick in the Amazon's upper reaches in Peru, where the mighty river begins.
This is the city of Iquitos, and this is the biggest, the busiest, and the noisiest place on the Peruvian Amazon.
It's a city of 500,000 people carved out of the rainforest and virtually cut off from the outside world.
And the reason the city's here is because of the river. It's near one of the major confluences on the Amazon system. So it's a real crossroads for everything going up and down the river.
Iquitos is a major hub for trade and transport and the ideal place to kick off my investigation.
Lots of people means a very good place to start gathering information.
As a fisherman, I judge a river by its fish. Sizes and species tell me a lot about the condition of any waterway.
¿Cómo se llama este? Gracias.
Here in the Peruvian Amazon, there are many hundreds of fish species. I know some of the names in Portuguese, but not many in Spanish, which is what's spoken here.
Maparate, chiripira, palometa, sí. Gambina. I mean, this is just a few square feet, and just the variety of fish here. Variety is incredible, but I'm wondering if there's anything more sizable.
I'm mainly interested in apex predators because their presence is a good sign of a healthy river.
There's one particular fish that I was rather hoping to see, and so far, just no joy. Estoy procurando dorado. ¿Hay dorado aquí?
The dorado, or gilded catfish, is one of the Amazon's big predators. I've never caught one, but I've heard that the biggest ones are supposed to be here, on the upper river.
Señor, buenos días. ¿Tiene dorado?
No, hay no.
No, okay. Gracias. Estoy procurando dorado.
Llegan pequeñas, no llegan esas grandotas que llegaban antes del dorado.
Y los pescadores.
Los pescadores todo el tiempo se van a buscar, ¿no? Pero a veces en medio de las 11 también viene dorado.
Son
disminuye, ya disminuye un poco.
Okay. As you say, dorado used to be really abundant. The numbers are going down. They're going down. The sizes they're smaller now than they used to be, and the fishermen are having to work a lot harder to find them.
And it seems I'm not the only one interested in dorado.
Siempre vienen por acá los biólogos.
Biólogos de aquí, de Iquitos.
Apparently some biologists come to weigh and measure any dorado that end up here.
solamente indo. A veces compro.
And one of these scientists is based nearby.
This woman has just said that if it's Dorado that I'm interested in, there's a man I should go and see.
Any inside knowledge on an apex predator like the Dorado could aid my investigation of the river.
Okay.
So this is a man I need to meet. Fabrice Duponchel is a fish ecologist from France.
So, I mean, is this some sort of ongoing...
And he's part of a team studying Dorado in the Amazon.
These fish are the top predators of the Amazon. So they have a very important ecological role. And we know very little about these fish so far.
But Fabrice and his colleagues have made a breakthrough by examining a minute part of the Dorado's anatomy, the ear bone.
Fish don't have ears. They don't have these, do they? But it's the inner ear, the part they use for balance, and that's where these come from. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's really for maintaining balance in 3 dimensions.
These tiny ear bones, or otoliths, are cut through and their growth rings analysed to reveal the secrets of where the fish spent its life.
These otoliths are like the black box of a plane. They store everything during the life of the fish. Knowing the chemistry of the different rivers, we can trace that back within the otoliths and deduce their migrations.
And so you can tell that when it put down this growth ring, it was in this place. When it put down that growth ring, it was in another region.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
And the Dorado's migration, revealed by this new science, is unlike that of any other Amazon fish.
The adults breed only within the headwaters of Bolivia.
Spawned in the headwaters, baby Dorado are swept down the Amazon's tributaries into the main river and all the way to the river mouth. Here they grow into young adults, and after a few years they begin the epic journey all the way back upstream to breed.
So some of these fish, they are migrating all the way across the South American continent at its widest part. I mean, almost all the way. But they're doing that twice. I mean, it's a tremendous distance.
Downstream and back would be approximately 12,000 kilometers round trip.
So in miles, 7,500 miles.
I'll take your word for that.
This makes the Dorado's migration the longest of any freshwater fish in the world. This is a fish that runs the gauntlet of the entire length of the Amazon. It doesn't just do it once, it does it twice. And based on that, I think the Dorado could be absolutely key in helping me to gauge the overall health of the entire Amazon system. Unfortunately, research also shows that the number of adult Dorado reaching the upper Amazon has declined drastically. To find out why, I want to get my hands on one. So I meet up with one of Fabrice's fisherman contacts. Marlo has been fishing out of Iquitos for 20 years.
Esta es la primera línea que vamos a revisar. Esto es la soguilla que hemos templado, que tiene 70 metros aproximadamente al...
Sí, sí, sí.
He sets lines overnight for Dorado and other big fish and checks them each morning.
We're actually not pulling it in, we're working along the line. There's a big lump of concrete and then a big single hook on the end. ¿Qué está pensando? Nada de...
Nada, no lo siento, ahí se va yendo despacio. Y cuando está más cerca ya te jala más seguido, más fuerte.
Sí, sí. So this bait has been out in the water for about 12 hours and nothing has taken. And this is like a prime spot. So there's nothing on this one either.
We leave the lines out until evening, but still no Dorado, in fact no fish at all. So we hang up our hooks for the day.
Debería pesar unos 90 kilos.
Sí. Right, let's get this straight. I mean, we were doing that thing the fishermen do. We're talking about interesting catches and big fish.
Lo puedo describir ahí. El normal.
It turns out that Marlo is not just catching fewer fish. Recently, upstream from here, he landed a strange, stunted giant.
Pesa no era grande, sí.
So he's caught one that was over 9 foot long. Now that should have weighed at least 200 pounds, and he said it weighed probably about a third of that, sort of 65 pounds, something like that. He said it had a normal sized head, and a very thin body. So this is a really weird looking fish.
And its problems went deep.
When he cut it open, the story got even more bizarre because when he looked at the liver was black.
What's going on that's doing this to fish?
It's basically just happened.
I'm in Peru, taking the pulse of the mighty Amazon River.
The weather is a little uncertain,
The storm is coming faster right now.
so we have to go round.
Yes.
The pilot says he can't guarantee that he can get me where I want to go, but we're going to have a try.
I'm heading upriver. Marlowe caught his stunted monster on the Marañón, an Amazon tributary west of here, where the forecast is for storms.
The thing about bad weather like we have now is you have to fly around it, if that's possible. And here in the Amazon, the most common cause of air accidents is not being able to land and running out of fuel.
With plenty of water around, this float plane should be able to put down. But it sounds like there's no guarantee of a smooth landing further upriver.
There might be obstacles, particularly in the water, so we're going to set down here and I'll probably have to continue by boat. Okay.
This region is sparsely populated, with only a few isolated communities living off the river.
Yes, it'll go here, go here.
But the boatman says he knows the area where Marlowe caught his freak fish, and he'll drop me at the nearest habitation.
¿Qué tal? Ya, mi nombre es Pablo Silas Salinas, pues la comunidad de Santa Rosa.
This is Santa Rosa, a community of the Kukama tribe. But the place looks like it's under siege. And the elders are itching to show me something.
There's constant sound of chainsaws going.
I'm being hurried along, and they want us to keep the camera rolling. And I soon understand why.
Yeah, I'm smelling already, yeah.
They're trying to contain an oil spill.
Del oleoducto norperuano que está peligrando a una rotura que disparo del petróleo crudo.
Right, so where it happened is just a little way in that direction. What they've managed to do at the moment, they've got some barrages down, they're containing it, they're stopping the spread of this oil here further down that way. They've already got a certain amount out. The thing is, the pipe's under the water. You know, how do you deal with a pipe under the water?
Thousands of gallons of oil have leaked from an underwater pipeline.
Una pregunta sobre los pescados.
Esas peces ya volvían de su moro, se están largando, y ya se han muerto.
They said lots of fish died, and I mean, with oil in the water, it forms this layer on the surface, and that stops the oxygen getting into the water. So the fish then use up the dissolved oxygen that's there, and then they suffocate eventually.
Even when dispersed, the oil's toxic chemicals can get into fish through their gills or guts.
So this is what crude oil looks like. I know this is the stuff we all depend on, but you shouldn't ever find this stuff in a river.
The outlandish fish that Marlowe described had a big head and a skinny body. The sad signs of a giant fish wasting away due to toxins in the water. And its black liver suggests that oil was to blame. But that wouldn't have been the result of this very recent spill. So what's going on?
¿Qué fue que pasó exactamente?
Los peces se encuentran la mitad enfermos. Está podrido, negro.
It turns out that this has happened before.
Están con metales pesados, están con todo tipo de enfermedades.
This jungle wilderness conceals a sizable oil field and a network of over 500 miles of aging pipeline, which locals blame for up to a dozen spills every year. And these are having a devastating impact on the river here and on the communities that depend on it for their survival.
There's clearly lots of very angry people here. They can't eat the fish, they can't even sell the fish. Now they've got to travel and they've got to buy fish from elsewhere. And on top of that, they say lots of health problems. We're talking cancers, we're talking paralysis, miscarriages, and general cases of untimely human death.
My detour up into Kukama territory has revealed the likely cause of Marlowe's freakish fish, which must have been an oil-contaminated piraiba. But what effect is oil pollution having downstream? And is it to blame for the drastic decline of Dorado around Iquitos?
Can you see the line in the tree?
Got it, yep.
To find out, I've caught up with one of Marlowe's friends.
So how many hooks this one? 12?
12.
Suhr is considered a Dorado specialist, and he has agreed to help me catch one of these now elusive fish.
Bit of a tree.
I'm still hopeful that the river here is healthy enough to support big fish like Dorado.
So was just telling me the first night he was fishing 25 hooks, then 18. This time round we got 17 hooks. So far, nothing showing. That's the equivalent of me fishing 60 nights with one line.
And this fish used to be common here.
Yeah, we've still got the bait. Ah, I can feel weight, but not pulling. It's not too heavy. It might just be the bait.
Just be careful.
There's something here.
Be careful. Dorado.
Oh, it's okay. I've got it.
I'm in the Amazon, and for the first time ever, I've landed a Dorado catfish, which here means the golden one.
So this is my first close-up look at a live Dorado. The reason they call it Dorado is, well, it's fairly obvious. It's quite golden coloured. This fish is still quite lively, so it's got a lot of strength.
Better still, it looks healthy. No wasting away or other signs of oil contamination.
These are incredibly well-travelled fish. So for me, it's actually very special to see one of these.
When it was very small, this fish would have travelled all the way down to the mouth of the Amazon. And now it's on its way back to the headwaters to spawn and complete its marathon migration.
It beats anything done by wildebeest, any land-living animals. These fish, large numbers of them, or historically large numbers of them, swimming up and down the length of the Amazon River.
This Dorado is my first sign that there's hope for this section of the river. But sadly for this fish, it's the end of the line.
Well, if I caught this on a rod, I'd be putting this back to continue its journey, but Suhr is a commercial fisherman. He's been fishing 3 days for this one fish, so the reality is, this is as far as it gets. People have to eat.
I'm not seeing evidence of oil here, so the problem seems to be contained. And I don't think oil can be the only reason Dorado aren't making it upstream. I'm wondering what else is to blame. So I'm continuing downstream into Brazil. The city of Manaus is the main hub on the central Amazon. And with a population of over 2 million, it's the largest market for fish on the entire river.
Could be gone here a little bit late, but nothing like as busy as I was expecting.
The jetty where catches are offloaded is winding down for the day. But I take the chance to talk to some fishermen and dust off my Portuguese. There's little new information on Dourado, but I finally find a boat with fish on board. It's not the fish I've been focusing on, but it's a very interesting catch, arapaima.
This is a fish that is, throughout the Amazon, is in serious decline. But he's told me they come from a place some way from here. So this fish, which is elsewhere, very scarce, is still producing.
I'm never happy to see dead fish, but this catch could be a good sign that arapaima,
look at this!
The iconic fish of the Amazon floodplains and once a major food fish in Brazil, might be making a comeback.
Bom dia, estamos viajando para no Purus? Muito bom, okay.
The arapaima is another key apex predator, a barometer of the river's health. So finding them in numbers here in Brazil could be as big a story as finding so few Dourado up in Peru. I have the name of the man the arapaima in Manaus came from.
Bom dia. Cadê a casa do padre? It's Orlando.
Padre was born here in this riverside community, where the way people fish has changed dramatically.
Eu era dos predadores, pescadores chamam predadores, porque eu fazia tudo que era errado.
This is a fascinating story. So your padre started fishing when he was a boy, about 12 years old. He used to be a professional fisherman, and back then that meant fishing illegally, it meant sneaking into other people's lakes. I mean, this is what everybody did. It was a free-for-all.
Em 2008, lago que tinha 3 pirarucu.
But when he saw that overfishing was threatening the arapaima, and with it the local economy, Padre proposed a protective reserve run by and for the local community.
To start with, he met with intense resistance. I mean, so much so that he was even getting death threats. And the reason was, when people heard the word reserve, to them this meant you know, exclusion. You can't even fish at all. Life is going to get even worse. But he managed to persuade a small group of people, very strong-willed people, and he managed to get things moving.
The reserve that Padre helped to set up covers 2 million acres of lakes, floodplain and forest, larger than the state of Delaware. Here, the free-for-all fishing culture of the past is being replaced by quotas and restrictions to help bring back the big fish and manage them sustainably.
Quantas pessoas aqui?
Aqui fica até...
But getting fish numbers back up is only half the battle. In this remote territory, there's little law enforcement, so it's down to the locals themselves to police the reserve and protect their valuable fish from poachers.
Just looking at this, I mean, it's very well kitted out. They've got radios for communication, they've got fast boats, so they've got speed if they need it. And just noticed there's some guns in the corner there, so they are, you know, they're tooled up in case things get serious.
The 2-month arapaima season is coming to an end. But today, Padre has promised to show me this great fish, one I've sometimes spent weeks trying to catch, being caught by the boatload. But first we have to make our way to a remote corner of the reserve.
That's the depth. Without the dam back there, this would be about a foot shallower. That would make this completely impassable.
For 3 hours, we struggle upstream.
We're here. It's opening out. This is the lake.
Padre's fishermen are already assembled. Now to find some big fish. Even in shallow water, arapaima can be hard to locate. But as air breathers, they have a fatal flaw.
The thing about Arapaima, unlike other fish, is they have to come up to the surface, so they give themselves away. So the technique is they put the net out in a big circle, and then they wait. Oh, here we go, look.
I'm deep in the Amazon floodplain, where the return of the Arapaima would be great news for the river.
Here we go, look, we've got a fish on.
A sizable Arapaima is not a fish to mess with.
You don't want one of these fish thrashing around inside a small canoe like this. It could do a lot of damage. This one's a good-sized fish.
And the catches keep coming. For a catch and release fisherman like me, this is hard to watch. But the amount of fish here is a very positive sign.
I've actually lost count of the number of fish I've seen, but that's several good-sized fish from an area that just 10 years ago or so had nothing at all. That's got to be a good result.
Padre estimates there are now several thousand healthy Arapaima in their waters.
1,84.
The annual catch is limited, meaning stocks don't get wiped out. And profits from the sale of the fish are put directly back into the reserve.
I think by any calculation, this has to be counted as a success. There's a hold full of big Arapaima here. You've got a fishing community back on its feet after years of decline. So I think it's a very simple moral. If you look after the river will look after you.
Across most of the vastness of the Amazon, Arapaima are now extinct or severely overfished. But here and in other similar reserves, numbers are back to what they were in the past. And a river healthy enough to support the apex species also supports everything else. And the river comes back to life.
Oh, there's another dolphin there. But this is a good sign.
The localized revival of Arapaima is very good news. But what about the migratory Dorado, the fish that travels up and down the entire length of the Amazon? I think it can provide much better clues to the health of the whole river. Dorado were hard to find on the upper Amazon. But some Dorado run up the Amazon's side branches to other spawning grounds. I'm wondering if the situation on the Madeira River is any better for migrating Dorado. So I'm tracking down some Madeira fishermen.
Essa malhadeira para que peixe?
Para dourado.
Dourado?
Pegar 6, 7 peixes por dia. É difícil, eles passam 3, 4 dias sem pegar nenhum.
I was asking Ivanio how the fishing is here. He's saying that things have really changed. There's fewer fish. They used to catch good-sized Dorado. They would catch sort of 6, 7, 8 a day. Now you're struggling to get 5 in a week. So he says that that life has changed dramatically.
The decline in Dorado numbers is similar to the upper Amazon. And Evandro has been saddened by another development, which he links to the recent construction of a dam further up the Madeira.
Another thing he's just told me is that nowadays, and this didn't happen before the dam was there, in the period of low water, they get large fish floating past dead. And when they look at those fish are, maybe they have their head battered, maybe they have the spine broken. And he says, they've seen lots of cases of this.
I need to find out what's going on. So I'm going further up the Madeira River. Santo Antonio was the first dam constructed across the Madeira. And I'm told significant time and money has been spent building a route around it for migratory fish.
This is a fish corridor, and it's been constructed to mimic the rapids that were here before, and the fish used to swim up those rapids. So the theory is they come all the way up here, and if they continue round the corner, this actually delivers them, in theory, into the water above the dam.
But a narrow, shallow channel like this could be difficult for Dorado to find and navigate.
You've got these small scaly fish in the slack there behind the boulders.
But so far, nothing of Dorado size. Then I spot something.
Yes, yes, there it is, there it is, there it is, tail sticking out.
I'm at a dam in the Amazon, witnessing the heroic upstream struggle of migrating Dorado.
There's 2 Dorado down here, which is fantastic to see. I just saw this lighter shape appearing just momentarily above the surface. And there's another one holding position behind the boulders. But I reckon at this point, they're about halfway, so they've still got a bit of a way to go.
This is encouraging, but I want to make sure that the Dorado are actually getting to the water above the dam. I need to find some fishermen upstream. The dam created a 100-square-mile reservoir and flooded a section of Whitewater River that used to be a famous fishing spot for Dorado. The fishermen tell me it's not the only big change here.
Onde o peixe conseguia passar. Ele passava desse lado aqui, mas era mais difícil.
The rapids used to be over there. They're now underwater. Their village also, used to be by the side. That's now gone. And they were telling me they used to catch Dorado to about 130 pounds. Now there's virtually nothing. So just total transformation.
I saw Dorado in the dam corridor, but the fishermen say few are making it the 5 miles up the reservoir to here. Since migratory fish instinctively swim against the current, I think the still water of the reservoir might be the problem. With no current to swim against, could the fish be losing their sense of direction and failing to find their way upstream? In fact, the accounts of damaged fish downstream suggest that some might be heading back the way they came and getting caught up in the dam turbines. And these problems aren't just an issue here, because this is only one of hundreds of dam projects planned or being built on the Amazon system. It looks like dams could be seriously reducing the number of Dorado making it upstream to their spawning grounds to breed. I'm back on the main Amazon and heading down into the lower reaches, where it's joined by the Tapajós tributary. This part of Brazil is gold country. So I want to find out if there's a link between the rise in gold mining and the decline of the golden Dorado.
Gold is what first lured outsiders to the Amazon, and there's been mining here ever since. It's an industry that's often blamed for polluting the region's rivers, so I want to see it in action for myself.
The gold mining industry is usually a closed world to outsiders, but I've managed to obtain access to a small-scale backwater operation.
Eu estive em 79, na época eu estava em Peixoto de Azevedo, essas coisas. Ali a gente via 4, 5 mortos todo dia.
This mine is owned and run by Joia. He's been in the business for 40 years and has seen a lot of changes.
Gold mining is always something that, for outsiders, it's always, there's stories of violence and drunkenness, and he's saying that, it used to be like that. He said when he started, it wasn't unusual to see sort of 4 or 5 bodies on the street in the morning, but it's not like that at all nowadays. It's completely changed.
Joia also claims the industry now has much less impact on the river system, and he agrees to show me the process to prove it. Like most mines, this one is sited on a riverbank, close to the huge quantities of water required for gold extraction.
What they're doing here is aiming very powerful high-pressure water jets at the soil. The sediment then runs down these channels into the well there, and it's taken away, another pump there, and up there is where they extract the gold.
Hundreds of tons of earth a day are broken down and processed to find just a few ounces of gold.
What's happening here is that the water with the sediment comes up this pipe and then it runs down this slope here, and fixed to the slope is carpet, and that is where the gold particles settle. So from time to time they shut everything down and they wash the carpet to get hold of the gold.
It's a dirty business, but so far I'm seeing no obvious dangers to the rivers. But then I notice one of the miners pouring something from a bottle.
He's pouring mercury onto the platform now. This is for collecting all the tiny gold particles together.
Mercury is highly toxic. If it gets into rivers, it can poison fish, particularly apex predators like Dorado. So where is this deadly mercury ending up? I'm in the Amazon, investigating the impact of gold mining on the river and its fish.
He's pouring mercury now, pouring it into his hand and onto the platform.
Mercury enters the aquatic food chain at the bottom and is ingested by everything from small fish up to apex predators, which are then toxic to anyone who eats them. The mercury's function here is to pull together the particles of gold into an amalgam.
This here is gold. Gold mixed with mercury.
How the two elements are then separated is key. I'm pleased to see that this is now carried out in a closed extractor.
In the old days, the mercury just used to go into the air, and it used to get absorbed by water in the atmosphere, used to end up in the rivers. What happens now, the mercury vapor goes through a little tube and ends up in the little cup there on that side. That can be used again.
With the mercury safely recycled, the gold is revealed.
This is what it's all about. Half a dozen men working 3 days, shifting over 1,000 tons of earth.
Today, it's a meagre return of 1 3/4 ounces, which won't even cover the miners' expenses. But it's the cost of this process to the rivers that most concerns me.
The gold mining industry is much cleaner than it used to be, particularly this business of mercury. But nevertheless, looking around, particularly in all the runoff, that has to be having a serious impact still on the river and everything that lives in it.
Catfish, like the Dorado, are at home in cloudy water. But maybe there's so much sediment in the water here that it's too much for even the Dorado to cope with. This could be another reason why so few adult Dorado are making it upstream. But I think there could be a more fundamental problem to check out on the final reaches of the river.
I've barely moved, and here we are, there's Dorado here.
The city of Belém has a sizable fishing industry.
Just seen some more Dorado just being loaded into a bag and weighed.
And young Dorado appear to make up a significant part of the catch.
There's lots here, and some bigger ones. Sort of 7-9 pound fish, something like that.
It's clear that some baby Dorado must still be hatching in the spawning grounds and completing the downstream journey to the river mouth. And here they're growing to sellable size.
They're clearly a very popular fish. Every place I come across them, they seem to be selling out very quickly.
But I think this popularity is the start of the Dorado's problems, because it has led to overfishing.
They shouldn't really be catching them this size, but the fact is, everybody's doing it, and there's no inspection, there's no enforcement.
Too many young Dorado are being caught here at the mouth of the river before they can mature and attempt their adult migration back upstream. This is more bad news for the Dorado and a sad sign of the state of the Amazon.
clearly the fish that I'm seeing here are not going to be making it back upriver to help produce the next generation.
From Belém, it's still 60 miles to the sea. At its widest point, the mouth of the Amazon is over 200 miles across and contains an island the size of Switzerland. Here, 2,200 miles downstream from my starting point, my Amazon investigation reaches its conclusion.
For me, this journey I've made down the Amazon is really the tale of two fish with very different stories.
The Dorado catfish faces multiple man-made problems and has suffered a serious decline. But the return of the Arapaima seems almost miraculous.
A few very brave and imaginative people are showing us if you look after the river, yes, there is a cost, but the river will repay that cost, and it will repay it with interest.
Judged by the fate of two of its iconic fish, the Amazon's report card is mixed. This mighty river is facing unprecedented threats, but I've seen it has the powers of recovery and, importantly, the people to help it pull through. And this matters because an Amazon in peril leaves us all exposed. But a thriving Amazon holds out hope for the future. To find out what you can do to help the rivers in your part of the world, go to animalplanet.com/mightyrivers.